Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are taking a look at one of the older Battat figures, and in fact I think we'll probably start reviewing all of the older Battat figures now that we have run through most of the newer ones, but this one specifically is one of my favorite of the older Battat figures, and I only recently acquired it in that very large lot of dinosaurs that I posted a video of a little while back. This is their Ouranosaurus, and it is one of the, if not the most beautiful Ouranosaurus figures I have ever seen. It is so stinking nice. It really is one of my favorite species. Just something about it is so cool and so mesmerizing that I've always really had a strong interest in this species. And the fact that it has so little figures out is honestly a crime. Having such a very unique appearance to it, you would think that there would be a lot more figures made of it, but there just isn't. Similar to the Edaphosaurus, how the Edaphosaurus has sort of a similar look to the Dimetrodon, but yet you see tons of Dimetrodon figures, very few Edaphosaurus figures. This, in my opinion, is like the herbivorous version, or at least when I was growing up, it was always kind of portrayed as like the herbivorous version of Spinosaurus. So you've got the scaly Spinosaurus type meat eater, and then you've got the scaly plant-eating Ouranosaurus, yet you still saw very few figures of this species. I just don't understand why herbivores always get looked over. I mean, I guess I can understand as far as directing them toward children. Children are always going to be probably more interested in the meat-eating ferocious dinosaurs, but those meat-eating ferocious dinosaurs need some plant eaters to eat, so why not create some beautiful Ouranosaurus figures? Regardless, I don't know. It's baffling. No idea, but I can tell you one thing. This figure looks absolutely awesome from a distance, so let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, look at how beautiful that head sculpt is. Battat really were like way ahead of their time back when they were creating figures. That head sculpt is just gorgeous looking. Every aspect of that head sculpt is just fantastic. You can see a little bit of paint has been chipped off of the beak area of mine, but that's something I may touch up at some point. I'm not too sure. I don't like to mess with the originality of figures, but the sculpt is really nice. Beautiful detailing all throughout the head sculpt of the dinosaur. Really nice detailing around the eye. The eye has like a grayish color or maybe a black. It's such a small eye. It's really hard to take note exactly what coloration we've got there, but there isn't really a gloss coat or anything in the eye. It doesn't make it shine from what I can tell, so it's not quite as lifelike as you would find nowadays when it comes to dinosaurs, as most companies almost always release like that gloss coat on the dinosaur's eyes, but I still think it looks really good. You can see the tongue inside the mouth there, painted with like a purplish type of a coloration. The mouth is extremely small, so you can't really get inside too well to take up any type of a detail in there, but it does look decent enough. Again, with a mouth as small as that, you're not going to really need too much detail going on in there because you really aren't going to see much of it. Moving down into the neck sculpt looks really good as far as the skin texture. Lots of beautiful creasing going on in the skin, even running down to the throat, and you can get a sense of the actual throat running up along the neck there. Moving down into the body, you can start to run down the leg, and again, that skin texture looks really, really nicely done. And you get down here into the foot sculpt. The foot sculpt looks beautiful. You've got nail paint there, painted with a grayish coloration, although it looks like it's maybe not so well painted on this foot. It's not really that bad either, but I think the sculpting here, as far as these front limbs, looks really good. I guess you could consider these hands if you want. Coming back up into the body, you can actually get a little bit of a sense of a muscle tone right there in this front limb, and you can also see some of the skin bunching up there as the elbow is pushing into the stomach a little bit there, kind of bunching the skin up. Really nicely shown there as far as the sculpt goes, and the skin texture overall is fantastic in the stomach region. Look at how really, really nice looking that skin texture is, really giving you that large animal feel. And then as you move up here into the sail area of the Ouranosaurus, you can see that the detailing does not cease for even an instant. Really nicely sculpted skin texture all over up in the sail area, and the coloration of the dinosaur is really quite interesting. It's not the normal type of a paint scheme you would see on something like this, really flashy and kind of bright colors, but I actually think it works quite well and could have potentially been something I would see this dinosaur as far as the coloration goes. I really feel like the older Battat figures were much nicer as far as the paint application goes in comparison to what we see on the newer Battat figures. It's just that the paint is, I think, a little smoother the way it's added. It's not so thick. It doesn't look fake. It really looks more like body color than paint, which is definitely a plus for these older Battat figures. Then you can get back here. You can take note to the hip bone there. As you move down the thigh, you can really see a beautiful sense of the muscle tone there as I'm turning it. You've got the kneecap there present in the front. Really nice calf muscles and some nice creasing here in the joint of the knee. Coming down into the foot, you can see the foot sculpt looks pretty good. You've got some gray nail paint once again on the toes. Coming back up into the tail area. Again, lots of nice detailing. That skin texture, look at those creases in the skin. As we move out the length of the tail, and that sail follows through all the way down to the tip of the tail right there. It looks really, really nice for sure. And then looking at the opposing side, you can see lots of great detail here. Once again in the neck, as we lead down the neck, lots of creases in the skin. There are really nice creases in the skin as well in the chest region of the dinosaur. You can see the skin kind of reacting to the movement here in the shoulder blade area where this limb connects to the body. You can kind of see like the movement of the skin right there. Nice creases in the elbow area once again. And the elbow itself is actually sculpted out there. Beautiful detailing as far as the skin texture there in the stomach. Again, lots of wrinkling going on. Really nice, very large animal feel as far as I'm concerned. You've got the skin stretching off of the body when it comes to this leg, pulling the skin back really nicely. And you can even see it kind of run the entire length of the body here with the way the skin is playing off of the movement of this leg. It looks really nice. I love the way that's sculpted. You can see the hip bone there, and again, the muscle tone here in the thigh and calf region of the leg here. Beautiful kneecap, and I like how this foot is just ever so slightly lifting up off the ground, and so is this leg here. You can really see like the walking motion of the dinosaur as it's trotting along, and you can also kind of get a sense of the bone structure of the entire leg, and the way they've sculpted it is really beautiful. You've got the foot sculpt back here with the gray again on the nails, and then moving back here into the tail looks great once again, just like we saw on the previous side, as we run out the length of the tail here to the tip, and this really nice yellowish coloration is surprisingly natural looking on the figure, and the way this maroon color kind of spots and then gets really dark up here on the top of the sail really gives the entire thing a very flashy and elegant type of an appearance, but it looks actually somewhat natural, which is really impressive that they pulled this paint scheme off so well. As far as a size goes, it's a pretty small figure. It's not very large, which is kind of the way a lot of these Battat figures go. So from the head to the tail, you're looking at about 6.5 inches, or around 16.5 centimeters, maybe close to 17, and for a height about 3 inches or just under 8 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, Robert Muldoon, and the Attack Pack Colovosaurus next to our Ouranosaurus, and you can definitely see that it's a pretty small figure. It's actually smaller even than the Attack Pack Colovosaurus. So as far as an Ouranosaurus figure goes, if you happen to have a heaping collection, not much room left, and you really want a beautiful Ouranosaurus, definitely search out this Battat version, because it's really not going to take up much room at all to add it to your collection, and it overall is beautiful. But even if you have tons of room and you're searching for a good Ouranosaurus, this is probably the best one out there that I can think of. So either way, it's a great choice, and hopefully next to these figures you'll have a good idea of how well it sizes up. So I've reviewed quite a few different Ouranosaurus figures here on the channel over the last few months, and a lot of them were kind of duds. I mean, they weren't terrible, they just weren't that good. This one, however, is a totally different story, and I personally am absolutely in love with this figure because, again, it's such an underrepresented species when it comes to figures that when you actually find a good one, you really need to hold on to it, and that is exactly what I see here with this Battat version. The sculpt overall is really nicely done, very beautiful. One thing it seems like as far as the species goes that is for some reason really consistently ugly on the figures that people put out is the head sculpt. But this one is really beautiful, very appealing looking, really nicely sculpted overall, and that does not cease as you move down the body. You can see that the sculpt work continues to be extremely impressive. That sail looks fantastic on the dinosaur. The limbs are all sculpted out really well. The skin texture overall looks beautiful, and I really am a huge fan of the sculpt and pose overall. The pose is just kind of as it's walking along, looks very at ease, very calm. The paint job is a bit flashy, maybe not the most realistic looking paint job, but honestly I think it looks pretty natural on the figure, and I do actually quite like the paint job overall. I'm not normally a big fan of really bright flashy colors on dinosaurs, especially like this yellow, but somehow Battat has made this work really well, and I love the spotting that runs down the side of the dinosaur and then out the tail. It really does look quite nice, and the fact that the maroon gets pretty dark up on the top of the sail helps to give it a slight bit of color variation and a pretty natural appearance overall. I definitely am a big fan of both the sculpt and paint on this Ouranosaurus, so definitely pick this up. If you are on the hunt for an Ouranosaurus figure, you're not having too much luck when it comes to the figures like the Collect Day or Schleich or Geo World versions, this one is a tremendous choice. And if you can get a hold of it, it's an awesome pickup. Again, this has been discontinued for a very long time, so it's a little pricey most times to get a hold of, but if you can find one for cheap, I highly recommend picking it up. And even if you have to pay a few extra bucks for it, again, it's really going to be worth it. A great figure for sure. So I will try my luck in finding you one on eBay to link you to. I cannot guarantee it, again, as they are pretty rare, but I will do my best. So check the description. Hopefully there will be a link there waiting for you guys. Either way, make sure you pick this up at some point, and also make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.